All right, first and third period. I looked through that Go Formative that you guys did yesterday, and I decided to make a video on the most missed problems, and have you guys kind of do some similar problems to that for your assignment today. I would really like to test over all of this on probably Wednesday. So that'll be a test that will just be open through the Canvas app, and I can give you some more details tomorrow about that as we get closer to it. But if you have other questions, please feel free to message me and let me know. If you're struggling with what we're doing right now, please let me know. On the test, I trust you that you will not cheat. I am going to ask that you submit a picture of your work that you did while you took the test. So that means if I see anything that looks like something that I did not teach you that you got off of a PhotoMath app, I will know. Do not cheat. All right, so the first most missed problem was problem number 2, and it was a completing the square problem. So let me just go over that one. So the problem was number 2. Oops, this is super thick. Let me make this a little bit thinner. So number 2 said m squared plus 14m minus 13 equals -2. So we had to do this one by completing the square. So let's go over some highlights of completing the square. Step 1 is that it needs to be in the form ax squared plus bx equals c. So all my constant values need to be on the right side of the equation. Number 2 that we've talked about in the past is that my a needs to equal 1. So if a does not equal 1, then we divide by a. Okay, from here we do step 3. We're going to do b divided by 2, and then we're going to square whatever that answer is and add it to both sides of the equation. Fourth step is, of course, to factor that perfect square trinomial into an x with something squared. Oh, let's do orange. And then we just have to square root and solve. So we square root and solve. So I'm going to leave those guys over there. So looking at this right now, I need to identify if all my c values are over on the right side. So are all my constant terms, are they on the right side of the equation? And just by looking at this one, let's use purple, I still have this -13 here. So I need to move that to the other side. So I'm going to add that, and then we would end up with m squared plus 14m. We know we're going to end up adding something else. And then -2 plus 13 is 11. So that takes care of step number 1. When we look at step number 2, a right here is 1, so we should be good to go. All we need to do now is to take half of 14. So I'm going to do this right over here in blue. So half of 14 is 7, and then we're going to square 7 to get 49. And 49 is what's going to go in this blank for me. Okay. So now we need to create our, I did not want that color, sorry. Now we need to create our factor. So this is made of x and whatever half of b was. So that's this number here. Half of my b value was 7, so x plus 7 squared equals 11 plus 49. I'm doing some calculations, which is 60. And then we square root and finish solving. So I'm going to square root both sides. So on the left, I'm left with x plus 7 equals, and I need to simplify that square root of 60. So I need to find a perfect square that goes into 60, which happens to be 4 and 15. So I could split this into the square root of 4 times the square root of 15. Of course, we don't know, we do know what the square root of 4 is, that's 2, but we don't know what the square root of 15 is, so we leave it inside of our radical there. So now that we're down to this step, all we need to do is solve for x. So we're going to subtract 7 on both sides, and we should end up with x equals negative 7 plus or minus 2 the square root of 15, which looking back on our answer options was answer option D. So that one was D. Let me cancel out of that for a moment just so that I can pull this back down and you guys can kind of take a glimpse at it. I will also post the screenshots of all the notes that I did today, along with your assignment for the rest of the day. So moving right along, I have 4 that we're going to do. So the next one that I wanted to talk about was number 17. So number 17. And this one said 6n squared equals negative 11n plus 72. And this one asked us to do it using the quadratic formula. So quadratic formula looks like x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2a. So when we do this, we simply just have to plug in our values. So the one other thing that I did talk about was finding the discriminant, which would teach us that b squared minus 4ac will tell us how many solutions we're going to have. So if we look at this problem up here, let's find the discriminant of it first. Well, in order to do that, we do need to rearrange some things. So when we do that, we're going to move that 11n over and subtract the 72 from both sides. And then we can keep solving. So if we wanted to find the discriminant, we're going to do b squared. So 11 squared minus 4 times our a value times our c value. And we should find that the discriminant is positive, and it's a big number. So now I simply just have to plug that into my quadratic formula. So x equals the opposite of b, which would be negative 11 plus or minus that discriminant, all divided by 2 times my a value. So when I do something like this, that is an actually perfect square, so we get some pretty nice numbers. We get x is going to equal negative 11 plus or minus 43 divided by 12. So then if I wanted to do that math, I'm going to do negative 11 plus 43 and then divide that by 12 and get 8/3. I'm going to do negative 11 minus 43 and divide that by 12 and get negative 9/2. So what I want to do now is just repost those 2 problems and then pose you with 2 more questions on using the quadratic formula, and then I will post another one on completing the square just so that you guys can have a little bit practice. And make sure that when you submit these, you show me that how you worked them out. A lot of people from other classes have been just simply writing their answers, and that doesn't tell me that you know how to do it. So I need to see work. You need to write it down on a piece of paper and show me that you know how to do it. So the 2 problems that I want you to do are this one, and this one. And I want you to solve by using the quadratic formula. All right, that is